So after around 7 p.m. last night, there was no update. People got off, people in Europe went to sleep, and around 2 hours after the normal time, Valve releases Souvenir trade-ups. They also released the Cologne 2026 stickers, which look fantastic, but that'll be a video for tomorrow. There is a brand new system if you are not privy. Obviously, the market reacted very calmly and rationally to this news. So that's what we're going to discuss. The macro of the situation. We'll get into the details in a future video. Which collections will benefit the most, which collections will get hurt the most. Because there are some that are better than others. On top of this, people are fucking losing their shit, selling everything. So I might buy some stuff tonight. You can check it out on Twitch. We'll do it live. So if you have some money, looking to buy something, you can look with me. Now here is what happened. Souvenirs can now be traded up. Now, functionally, they are now no different from a normal gun. And that's for two reasons. A, you can use either souvenir or normal guns in a trade-up. So you could do 5 normal, 5 souvenir, 10 souvenir, 0 normal, 10 normal, 0 souvenir like normal. And no matter what, the output is going to be non-souvenir. If you watched the video I did around last month in which I talked about souvenir trade-ups, my main problem with the theory of souvenir trade-ups was how you would get souvenirs to trade up into something that wouldn't harm the previous souvenir supply, but also incentivize more souvenir openings. This does that. System does is it just gets rid of souvenirs. And it functionally makes souvenirs equal to the normal guns, and souvenir packages from past majors. No, I don't think there'll be too much difference from major to major, but I think people are underestimating the fact that souvenir packages are now just cases. They've taken these map collections, which were technically discontinued but still dropped in a weird way with souvenirs, and they've made them actively dropped once again, which means interesting things. Because now these prices, at least in the short term, are going to reflect actively dropped prices. Prices may go down, but once these map collections get removed, they'll be discontinued forever, right? A problem with the Ancient collection, a problem with Mirage 2021 was that, yes, they were discontinued. However, there were still souvenirs dropping. So if you really wanted a Desert Hydra, you could just get a souvenir Desert Hydra. Now Mirage is just actively dropped once again because those cases can give you souvenir purples, which could be traded up into normal pinks and then a normal red. So we're pretty much actively dropped again. And these collections, for the first time, have cases, which will have interesting things on the supply of these guns and thus the price. So it opens up a little new opportunity and a little interesting speculation on which maps you think get removed next, which map collections you think get replaced next. For that is, I guess, where the next opportunity will be, independent of the armory of old collections, etc. The odds still do suck, correct? Some of them don't suck anymore, like Overpass and Train would be the best odds for getting a red. But now we can just treat souvenir and normal case skins as equals, at least in the active map pools. Right, in a way it was weird in that Dust 2, Mirage, Ancient, you couldn't actually get these skins despite the collections technically being active. Ancient, Dust 2, Mirage, Vertigo, these were in previous operations, but the supply that was eligible to trade up into upper rarities were discontinued, essentially, but you could still get the souvenirs. And obviously the souvenirs didn't command that high of a price point. There was much more supply of them, A, and B, it kind of felt like a fake version of the gun. That's why the collection skins were always the most expensive. Now, it brings a little bit of that rarity back to souvenirs because they're functionally equal, but now souvenirs are now tied to the major, which is interesting because before no one gave a shit about souvenirs because they had no actual tangible value. But now, since they're just regular guns, now they have a point in time in which you know they were created. So it is very interesting to see how this plays out in terms of the actual souvenir markets. There might be different tiers, different demand for different majors, which was never really not there, but even more overstated now. Do we need this type of change? For sure. As we spoke about in that previous video, souvenir packages just weren't worth opening. You got a couple free ones when you bought the major pass, but beyond that, there really is no ROI there. Everything's a gray, everything's a light blue, everything's 4 cents because there's 8,000 majors that all supplied the same exact weapons. These map collections don't get updated too crazily heavily. Maybe now they will through the armory, but you understand what I'm saying. And those bad odds do help out a little bit. I think you need 1 million grays to get a red out of souvenir trade-ups. So still pretty expensive. You're still not going to create too many reds here. right? You are going to create new reds from this update. You have Souvenir pinks, you have all these souvenirs, you have all these cheap Souvenir grays at the bottom, which are going to be cheap for the people who got in earlier, the people who were holding these grays. So they're pretty much just going to find a middle point. As we know, trade-ups and supply works like a pyramid. You got to work your way up and you lose items as you go up. So now each rarity tier is now shared between Souvenir and regular, except for red, right? You can't use reds to trade up into anything. But when you trade up 10 Souvenir pinks, you get a regular red. So Souvenir reds might stay rare. And the interesting thing now about the existing Souvenir cases is that they effectively have knives now. Now, they don't have actual knives, but if you get a Souvenir pink, you could trade that up into a normal red. What you cannot trade up into is a Souvenir red. So if you get a Stockholm 2021 Mirage Collection package, the only way you can get a Souvenir Desert Hydra from Stockholm 2021 is by unboxing it. You can make any Desert Hydra you get Souvenir, but it can only be Cologne 2026. You cannot make an older major just Souvenir on your own volition. So they have fundamentally changed the Souvenir package. They effectively have knives now, and the trade-up system will create new floors and more ROI subsequent. So very interesting change. So something like the Souvenir Gold Arabesque, the Souvenir Desert Hydra, if you scrape those stickers off because previously you wanted it to look like a normal Desert Hydra, well, now you're fucked. So that's also very interesting because that completely changes shit, right? Because if you previously scraped off all of the Mirage 2021 stickers on your Desert Hydra, skins.com is the newest sponsor on our channel. They have just released a P2P trading platform looking to compete with the best players in the space. If you don't want to wait that long, they do have an insta-sell feature on the site in which the rates are the best I've seen, just straight up. When the market is down, everything is on sale. And with the deals you're getting on skins.com, you could start your position basically up 20 to 25%. Try out skins.com and be a part of the future of CS2 skin trading. I will have a code soon, so stay tuned for that. Well, now it just looks like a regular one, and anyone can put the name Souvenir on their gun because we have a new Souvenir crafting system. You can take any gun you want, so a Gungnir, a Dragon Lore, any gun from a case, and you can make it Souvenir. Click on the game, you click make Souvenir, I guess. We don't have the option yet because no games have been played. And you pay a price based on the dynamic pricing system that exists for the stickers now, which we'll again talk about in the future. So this update really just gets rid of souvenirs that were oversupplied. It kind of reactivates and makes all of the map pool skins actively dropped. So for every rarity tier except for red, dependent on the ratio of supplies, it'll find an equilibrium point in the middle. So if there's 500 pinks, 500 Souvenir pinks, one's 100, one's 200, I imagine they'll both trend towards 150. That's a very basic example. Obviously, the red might go down. So who wins here? A, Souvenir grays for sure. These things were 3 cents. Nobody liked them. They were ugly as hell. No one even likes gold stickers. So now, in these collections that have been discontinued for trade-up value purposes for 5 to 6 years at this point, they now have a new whole shit ton of grays coming in at 3 cents. Obviously, these are going to find a new equilibrium. Grays are the absolute bona fide winner of this one. They will gain the most relative to where they were, a price floor stuck at 3 cents for years. Now, reds win and lose because reds are now going to be supplied more. Simple as that. All Souvenir pinks, all regular pinks now are in the same pool. Purples, blues, they all go up to pinks and then they eventually turn into reds. But they win because Souvenir reds cannot be created. So older Souvenir reds are going to be fine. Yes, you could technically create souvenirs now, but you could create only Cologne 2026 souvenirs. Will those be rare? Who knows? They talk about souvenir packages on the pick'em screen. However, are they going to be packages? Will they be a terminal system like the stickers? We don't know until it comes out. If they change the capsule system, I imagine they change the souvenir system, but I guess we just have to wait and see. But I guess regardless, you can still get these items in Souvenir. So if you get a Souvenir red, like a Souvenir Welcome to the Jungle from the packages, you're not going to create a Welcome to the Jungle and make it Souvenir, right? What you're going to do is make like one of your other weird guns a Souvenir. But that's also another cool thing. If you have a random gun, if you have a gun like let's say you have an M4 Fade, and you want to make it a Cologne 2026 Souvenir, now you can. Now you have a Souvenir M4 Fade. Now, next major, you can make another Souvenir M4 Fade, but now it's actually tied to the major. So you could like verifiably say, you were there during that major, which is pretty cool. It gives souvenirs value that they've never had. So my thoughts are, there is panic. Take advantage of the market in areas which were not affected but are now affected in price, like old collections, case skins, shit that flew down because people are just panicking in general. Understand that to get a gold arabesque from Gray's Souvenir, you need 1 million of them, and there's only 7 million of them. So there isn't probably too many going to be created. The rarity and sentiment is gone. That's really what matters, and that's what's really driving down the price. But I don't think they're going to get flooded as much as you think they are. Imagine how many fucking Grays are in barren old accounts. Probably a ton. Everyone, and I mean everyone, hated these skins, and you couldn't sell them. They were all 3 cents. Older souvenirs will be rarer. Current souvenirs will be rarer. Regular guns will be less rare, which makes sense. In that dichotomy, you should have souvenirs be rare compared to the normal ones. They're souvenirs. Short term, there's going to be some price movement in the lower tiers. They need to find an equilibrium point because they now functionally are the same. It is sad that you don't have access to like a nice souvenir pink now because they have trade up value and they're going to reflect their new trade up value. But I think long term, the system's going to be better. People always freak out. Valve usually makes decisions that benefit the community long term. So I don't think there's much to worry about here. As far as which items to buy, again, we'll do some buying tonight on Twitch. I'll also make a video on it in the next coming days or so, in which I'll give you a full, like, in-depth rundown. But basically, you kind of want to stick to the guns that you were buying in these collections before, just in Souvenir, if they're cheaper. But first, we'll have to look at the supply of these collections, make sure we're looking at the correct collections before moving in. Those are just my thoughts, probably a little bit jumbled. What are you going to do? As time goes on, we'll figure out this new system and try to make the best of it, because that's what we do, baby. Cheers.